Hello, I'm Dan. Welcome back to Vinyl Fury, and a bit of a special video today. So I mentioned last time that I was going to, I don't know exactly what I said about it, but I alluded to the fact that I was releasing a piece of music on cassette. So this is an album that was made in 2015 by my creative partner and I. We recorded and mixed and mastered, produced the whole thing here in this house while we lived together here. And recorded it in chunks, mostly in spurts when the creativity came. And it turned out really cool. And especially for the way that we did it as amateurs, figuring things out as we went, I think it turned out really well. I think the final product is something that we're really proud of. And we released it New Year's Eve that year, 2015. The band or the project is called Bandages. It's the two of us, really. And the sound is hard to explain. I actually made a video for it when it was initially released, and I'll leave a link or maybe put a little video insert here if you want to click that and see how I described it initially. The way that I wrote it, I wrote a blurb on Bandcamp, something like emotional, shifting, alternative hip-hop sounds. So there definitely is a hip-hop foundation, but there's layers of post-rock, there's layers of alternative, it's really several currents running together. And it's just the type of sounds that came out of the two of us working together. And so there's hip-hop vocals, there's singing, melodic vocals. That's where I come in. And we shared all the instrumental duties. I played most of the bass guitar. He did most of the keys and programming. But it was really a very collaborative, very enjoyable process. So when we initially released it, it was self-titled, Bandages. And as you can imagine, Bandages leads, if you Google search, you realize what you're going to find. Bandages didn't really help narrow it down. So we've actually been working on our second record recently. We're pretty far along in the process. We're working on vocals now. Hope to have that out in the not too distant future, sometime next year. And we're very excited about that. But as we were working on it, and I felt like we discussed doing the cassette thing at first, and I had started the design process and everything, but we just didn't follow through with it at the time. So I wanted to revisit it, and I mastered it initially. And it was the first piece of music mastering that I've done. And I've come a long way since then. I have completely different gear and much more understanding of how things work and what to do. And while I think it turned out pretty well the first time, being such a novice, I really wanted to take another shot at it. And I think it turned out much better. And there's a lot, especially in the sides, there's a lot of nuanced stuff that was kind of buried before that's coming out now. And I got it to be more dynamic, but actually a bit louder and punchier. And I think it just sounds as good as it can now. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I did that primarily so we could have this cassette made. And it was definitely a labor of love and a fun project to do. And after a lot of work, it is finally done. And here it is. So it has an alternate cover. I'll show you the original cover here. It's also incorporated into the artwork, but we decided to do something a little different to distinguish it, and used another image from that same time. So we made 50 cassettes, and 40 of them are for sale at Bandcamp. I can't imagine we'll make any more, so it's a very limited run. And I have to say, hearing this music as much as I have over and over again throughout the process, and as somebody who cares about sound a great deal, as you know if you watch my videos for any length of time, I'm actually really pleased with the way the music sounds on this cassette. I think it turned out better than I expected, and the representation of the artwork and everything turned out really well also. So shout out to Cryptic Carousel. If you have any interest in making cassettes of your own, Cryptic Carousel is a great resource. They were very helpful in the process. I think affordable, and the product was very well executed, and I'm really, really happy. So I paid a little extra for a 5-panel J card fold out. So let's get some not glare there. So the image in the middle, that's the original cover. There's a portrait of the two of us. And on the other side is a rendition of the Last Supper image with us. And then I'm here, and he's in the middle. Some of our friends helped us out to fill out the image. This is a really fun project. This is actually, I think, 4 or 5 different images composited together that we did in the same room that we recorded the album by our friend Henry here. He did a great job of setting this up and executing it. And all the liner notes are there. So I forgot to mention, the album has been retitled as well. It's called Final Confessions, which is a song on the record that seems to be the most accessible, the most well, it doesn't represent the album as a whole. It's people seem to like that song a lot and find it the most accessible song. And I think it's a great name for the album, as it is a concept album, and I think it really fits in with the theme, which is about death and possible afterlife and journey between the two. And I would really recommend listening to it in its entirety, but if you haven't heard any of the music, I would suggest listening to tracks 3, 5, and 7 probably to get an idea of what the whole thing is like. But it is a concept record, and it's meant to be heard all together, and I would really suggest that you read the lyrics, because they definitely help tell the story, and there's callbacks. And I have to say, my partner, he did a really great job. He's a very gifted lyricist and poet, and I think it turned out really well, and I think it's worth diving into if you'd like. So yes, I'd like some people to have this cassette. Even if we didn't sell any of these, we're definitely giving away a few to friends. That's why there's only 40 for sale. But just to make this exist makes me very happy. I'm really pleased to be able to do this. I mean, cassettes were the delivery mechanism to me as a child. That's how I got music. That's how I got into music. So to hold a cassette tape that has my music on it is a very, very cool thing. And it's humbling, and I would love to share it. So the link is bandagesmusic.bandcamp.com, we wanted to make them as cheap as possible. We're definitely not going to make money on this. So they're $5, $3 shipping. And I, of course, will do my very best to package it in such a way that it arrives in the same condition in which it left. So yeah, check out the record. You can definitely download it for free if you like in any variety of formats that are available, including FLAC. But yeah, I have to say it turned out really well on cassette. Not just the sound, but the whole thing. I tried to mimic kind of a 90s style look for the cassette tape itself. It's on a clear tape with a chrome inlay, which turned out really cool. So yeah, there's my pitch, as it were. Really proud of the record. Music is not for everybody. And some songs are quite different in style, but it definitely does all go together as a whole picture. And I hope people enjoy it. I hope it says something to somebody. I actually just sent out our first order, which went to somebody in Tokyo, which is very surreal. I'm not entirely sure how they found it, but that was great. But I wanted to come on and share this with my friends here in the vinyl community. If you'd like to check it out, and I would love to get it to some of you. And I'd love to hear what you think about what it is, how it turned out. I'm very curious. So I will stop talking about that. But to tie it in here, when I was first playing the cassette when they came in, I was listening to it and I thought, it actually sounds pretty good, but something's not right. It sounds slow. And again, because it is music that I've listened to over and over again, it's very well mapped out in here. And it was slow. Turns out my cassette deck was running just a tad slow, but to me, on this music, it just didn't sound right. So I played a couple tapes, and the difference wasn't as noticeable, but it was noticeable. And I tapped out tempos on a few things, and it was just a few BPMs off, which can make a big difference. And I'm sure it's the belt. I'm sure I could replace the belt pretty inexpensively. All would be fine. But I got curious, and I went to the same shop in which I got my Pioneer receiver, which I still love. And they had a Nakamichi deck. And I'm pretty sure that I've seen it there before, but it was just too expensive. And I thought, man, that much for a cassette deck, it can't be worth it. I shouldn't spend that much. But I brought my headphones and I brought the tape, and I plugged into the Nakamichi, and there was a Yamaha that was much cheaper, and there was a Denon that was about half as much. And by my research, it was a pretty good deck too. But the Nakamichi just sounded so much better. And it was expensive. It was marked at $249. But it seemed worth it. And after looking it up online, it's actually very much worth it, because the guys at this shop, they do put care into the equipment that they sell before it goes on the shelf. You know, they replace the belts, cleaning, the whole works, so you know that when it gets to the shelf, it's been cared for prior to that. I got it for like half as much as you would find it on eBay right now. So it's a Nakamichi LX5. It definitely has a very 80s look. It's from, I think, 1981. But when it came out, it was like $950. Nakamichi is a name that I have become familiar with really through the VC and seeing other people's cassette collections and cassette decks, and Nakamichi is the name for a good quality cassette deck, especially for recording, which is not something that I really intended to do, but I think I may try to get into it a bit. But it's a very good cassette player. I've listened to several cassettes. All of them sound better than they ever have. And a quality cassette sounds really good. So I will show you the deck. So here it is, the Nakamichi LX5, actually playing the Bandages cassette inside. So it's an open door, now with the light on the inside, which is nice. It's a 3-head deck. You got master fade in and out if you want to use that to record. Counter reset. Of course, the Dolby noise reduction options. And there's this flap that comes down with all the adjustments, tape type, bias, noise reduction, record levels and output levels, and a level meter up top, which is nice to see. Kind of looks like a VCR from the 80s, but definitely a very well built, very well crafted and engineered unit, and that definitely makes cassette tapes sound better than I've heard. Pretty happy. So there you go. I splurged a bit on that, but it seems like it's worth it. Probably keep this indefinitely. Can't imagine coming across something that is that awesome for that good of a deal. My Rotel deck that I had before, that I had shown in that last room tour, was quite nice, and I'm sure that if I replaced the belt, it would be just fine, but this is definitely better. So there you go, a bit on cassettes, but I do have some records to show, so I will be back with those in the not too distant future. I'll probably make that video right now, actually, but I wanted to get this up, get this out, and yeah. If you do check it out, I hope you like it, and I'm really looking forward to finishing up LP2. We've come up with some pretty awesome stuff, and I'm really excited to see how it all turns out. And that's it for me for now. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and take care. Enjoy your music.